Hello, everyone. Welcome to We Believe. This is episode 3. My name is Jordan Panich. I'll be your host tonight. Our usual host, Sean, cannot be here. He's also our technical guy, so just warning you, if there's any technical problems, we don't have him this week. He should be back next week. We are 8 days away from opening day. There's still a lot of questions revolving this team, so we're here to discuss some of those and have fun talking Mets baseball for the next hour or so. With us tonight is admin Davey Schwaz, who's been with us the past couple of weeks. He's an admin on We Are Mets Believers, as the other two are, and also with us tonight is Jacob Molynette, who's filling in for Sean. Jacob, how are you doing?
Great.
Great to hear. Jacob's actually been in Port St. Lucie this month, following the Mets and going to some games. So how about you tell us about some of your impressions so far?
Yeah. So I've gone to 8 Mets games at Tradition and a few about 45 minutes away. The player I've been most impressed with is definitely Chris Young. At first, I wasn't too excited when we signed him. I thought $7.5 million for a guy that's coming off 2 awful seasons was a little much, but this spring training he's batting over 340, and he's looked very impressive. He's got a home run and a couple RBIs. I also was impressed by Montero. I loved his command. He gave up 3 runs over his 9 innings. I hope he makes the team at some point this season. But one player that I was expecting more from and hoping for more was d'Arnaud. He's only batting 125, so I'm just hoping he can catch fire right before the season starts and hopefully provide some offense.
Yeah, d'Arnaud, obviously, just if you were paying attention to Mets blog, as I usually am, broke that 0 for 21 streak with a home run yesterday. The guy's got to come through. He was obviously the centerpiece of that R.A. Dickey trade last year. It's looking more as if Syndergaard's the centerpiece as time goes on, and I'm really hoping that d'Arnaud really provides the spark that they wanted the young guy to bring. He's getting older, and as the analysis keeps saying, they can't keep regarding him as a top prospect anymore if he's not going to perform at the level of a top prospect. So the guy's got to come through. The question is, can he be a home run hitter in the future? I don't know. They say he's a little bit of a power guy, and that's pretty much the main tool. But I don't know how it's going to translate into Citi Field. He hit a home run yesterday. I don't know what type of power he's going to have, but it's going to be interesting seeing d'Arnaud heading into the season.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll actually touch on d'Arnaud later in the show. We've got an over-under on him. But right now, let's jump into the lineup. You know, opening day is really soon, and there's a lot of questions, and a lot of them haven't been answered. So let's start with you, David. What's your lineup going into opening day?
And very interesting question, especially the rumors going around as of late. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna take Chris Young batting leadoff, just because I think Terry Collins would probably feel most comfortable that way. I'm not sure how comfortable he would feel if maybe Lagares batting leadoff. Before I really get into the shortstop, I'm just gonna say that Ruben Tejada is not my starting shortstop. Wilmer Flores is. I'll get to Flores later on in the lineup, but yeah, I like Chris Young first, because normally he wouldn't be a leadoff hitter, but he can steal bases and he can run and he obviously we've seen him hit for power in the past. And if you've been watching the show the last week, you heard my take on Chris Young and how I think he's the key to the Mets season this year. I'm a huge fan of Chris Young, and I would love to see him get more at bats and get more opportunities. So I'm taking Chris Young as my leadoff. I take Murphy batting second. Obviously, he's been there for the last couple of years. He's obviously the Mets' second best hitter on the team, and I think that with a guy like Chris Young who can hit home runs and doubles, and then you have Murphy, that's a Murphy behind him in the 2-hole, I think that poses as a bigger threat because you can see Murphy, who obviously we know is a doubles machine, will drive in a guy like Young who's going to hit doubles and triples, and it's going to work out well, especially in the long scheme of wanting to produce more runs. I think that's the best shot as producing more runs, especially with that 1-2 punch. Now, obviously, you got David Wright in that 3rd hole. I don't think I need to explain that. He's probably one of the better hitters in the league, and the only thing is that maybe you would say you want him in the 4 hole, but I don't want him in the 4 hole. I'm going to keep him where he's been the last couple of years. I'm going to keep him in the 3 hole. And for me, the most interesting spot in the lineup this year is going to be Curtis Granderson batting fourth. And why do I say that? Because Curtis Granderson is not a power hitter. We saw the Mets 3 years ago do the exact same thing with Jason Bay. They batted him fourth when they brought him in. They acted as if he can bat cleanup, and he couldn't. I don't know why the Mets are batting Curtis Granderson cleanup. They should just let Ike Davis get the shot again, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to work out that way. Obviously, I think Curtis Granderson is going to wind up getting that cleanup spot. But I absolutely hate the fact that Curtis Granderson's batting fourth, but he will be batting fourth. Nothing I can do about that. I have Travis d'Arnaud hitting fifth. I'm a big believer in Travis d'Arnaud. As you can see, I am a Met believer. So I love Travis d'Arnaud. I don't think too much ahead from what I've seen in the spring, so I'm going to take Travis d'Arnaud fifth. I think that he's going to turn into, in this league, an RBI guy. I don't think he's going to really hit for that much power, especially translating to Citi Field. I think he's going to be more of a single double guy. So I mean, I'd love to see him driving in right in Granderson. And when I say drive in, I mean Granderson will not be hitting as many home runs in Citi Field. So Granderson will be on base. He's not going to have hit a home run before d'Arnaud. I have Flores as my shortstop batting sixth in the lineup. And then I finish off with Davis, Lagares, and then the pitcher. And note, I do not have the pitcher batting eighth. As there have been reports that might happen, I do not think Terry Collins will follow through with what he said about the pitcher batting eighth.
All right, very interesting, David. Jacob Molinette, what's your take on the lineup?
I definitely agree with the 1-2 punch. Chris Young should definitely be leading off, and followed by Murphy. I have Granderson in the 3-hole only because David Wright has gone on record saying that he does not want Granderson batting fourth. And at least in the beginning of the season, I just don't have the faith in Davis or Duda. I hope Davis wins the job, and I have him winning the job. So I have Wright in the 4-hole, and then followed by Davis. I want Flores to win the shortstop battle. I don't know if he will. The reports I was reading the past couple of days still have him starting the season in AAA, but they need to find a position for him. He's proven that he's a hitter in AAA. He's batted over 320 last year. He's proven there's not much more he can prove.
We heard Sean 2 weeks ago. He gave us that. I mean, I'm still talking about it today. Love the take on why Wilmer Flores should be starting the shortstop. His opinion was that we saw with Daniel Murphy a couple years back when they decided that they were going to kind of give up on his defense and just find a place for him. So it kind of makes sense that they just find a place for Flores and let him, grow as a fielder and just produce as a hitter.
And Murphy's a good fielder now, I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just before we started the show, I was watching Murphy's play today. That was one of the nicest plays I think I've ever seen. That was pretty much ridiculous. But yeah, he's turned into the thing is that he has to Flores, if he's going to play shortstop, will have to turn into an average fielder, and I think he's capable of that.
Yeah, very interesting.
I agree. He does need to be an average fielder, but when Tejada first came up and he was batting 280 that first season, or his first full season, he wasn't making errors.
Right.
We
see a totally different player right now. Tejada is making errors now.
He is. And
I think a lot of it's pressure, and I know as a major leaguer you got to overcome that. But I think Tejada is going to win the job because they want to give him that second shot, which I think he deserves because he was a good player and he did bat for average, and he was a very good fielder when he was playing in 2011, 2012. So for my lineup, this is what I think it should be. I think if you're going to give Tejada that shot and be that opening day shortstop, you've got to use him to fill that leadoff spot, which they have a huge hole. And he was the leadoff hitter after Jose Reyes left, and he was solid there. He drew many walks. He got on base at a high rate. He wasn't very fast, but he hit 280, and he was solid there. I really like him there. I think they should give him the shot. I don't see Chris Young as that guy. He's not a high average guy. He can draw some walks, but he's not your typical leadoff hitter. Neither is Tejada, but I think Tejada gets the edge over him in that spot. Then I'll have Murphy second, David Wright third, Granderson. I think Ike Davis is going to bat fifth, then Chris Young, then d'Arnaud and Lagares. Now, if d'Arnaud proves he can be a major league hitter, and if by let's say the All-Star break he's playing well, I think the number 2 spot is a good spot for Travis d'Arnaud because he's going to be a high average guy. He's going to draw walks. He's going to get on base, which is something Murphy actually struggles with. He's not a high on base guy. He gets a lot of hits. He doesn't draw walks. And the number 2 spot should be a guy that draws a few more walks. So I think Travis d'Arnaud could be there. Then you put Murphy in the 5 spot. That just gives your lineup a lot more depth. So I think if Travis d'Arnaud becomes that player, and he can drive and runs, draw walks, and he can give that lineup a little more life.
Jordan, I'm not going to mess with that 2-3 punch though with Murphy and David and Wright, because that's been maybe one of the better 2-3 tandems in the league right now. And when you, in regards to when you said about Chris Young, you could look to, as this Chris Young experiment as a possible experiment. Sandy Alderson, he might be looking at it as sort of an experiment for the future. As in, we've never seen Chris Young in the Major League Baseball bat first. Okay, we've seen him bat. I'm pretty sure with Arizona he was batting 5th or 6th. We've never really seen him take that one spot. So it's going to be interesting to see in terms of future, because remember, Chris Young. I'm not completely sure how old Chris Young is, but Chris Young is relatively old. I mean, not relatively old, relatively young. And it's going to be interesting to see after the season, especially what they decide to do in terms of Chris Young, and if they decide to re-sign him. Because if he can produce in that one spot, then you're what's it called? You're going to be getting rid of 2 problems at once. You're going to be getting rid of the problem about an outfield problem and a leadoff problem. So if you can sort of turn Chris Young into a leadoff hitter, then it sort of gives you a little more leniency toward how you're going to take care of shortstop next year, I'm not assuming, but in a case where Wilmer Flores, I'm assuming Wilmer Flores is going to be starting shortstop this year, okay? In a case where Wilmer Flores isn't going to pan out this year, they're obviously going to have to get a new shortstop next year, and it means that they don't have to necessarily look for a leadoff hitter. They can be a little more lenient towards who they have to get, assuming Chris Young can take on the leadoff spot this year and maintain it, and then they can re-sign him for the next couple of years to come.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting, yeah. I'm excited to see how that turns out. Now, this is a different off-the-field problem, which we're going to discuss right now. Matt Harvey, we all know, is sitting out this year, probably the whole year. Questions about August and September, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Right now, what we're going to discuss is all the fuss about Matt Harvey and where he's rehabbing this year. Now, just for background, the Mets recommend their players who are rehabbing to stay in Port St. Lucie and rehab there. Matt Harvey, though, feels strongly that he wants to stay with the team and rehab in New York, and the Mets are not letting it budge. And it's being blown out of proportion, and I think it's a problem that is way too – it's ridiculous. I think Matt Harvey should stay with the team if he really wants to. This is just a recommendation, remember. This isn't a rule that the Mets have. This is a recommendation. If Matt Harvey wants to stay in New York, he wants to grow with the team, he wants to stay there, I think you got to let him. So what do you guys think? How do the Mets handle this situation? David?
This is kind of, to me, this is a topic that needs to be discussed, but it shouldn't be a topic. This is very stupid. This is I don't know. Matt Harvey, he's obviously the superstar of this team, other than David Wright, right now. And listen, the Mets. How do I say this? They're gonna they're gonna be very exciting this year. We have a lot of new players, but it's always nice to have a little, especially when we saw Matt Harvey go down with the Tommy John surgery. It's nice to see him come back and for Mets fans to be able to see him rehab. So I think that if I don't see why Sandy Alderson doesn't just let him practice in New York with the team, and fans will come to Citi Field and they'll be able to basically watch Matt Harvey. I don't know. He'll probably have catches during BP. I'm going to go to a lot of Mets games this year, and I can tell you as a fan, and Sandy Alderson, I hope you're listening right now, because I'd rather be watching Matt Harvey live do his rehab in New York than watch on TV, or not on TV, on little clips online of him doing it in Port St. Lucie. Jacob, I know you live in Port St. Lucie, so I'm sorry you're not going to be able to see it live, but I think it makes more sense that the bulk of Mets fans will be able to watch him live as opposed to not really being able to follow the progress. Now, we also saw an issue with Sandy Alderson had a problem with excuse me, also had a problem with the tweets that Matt Harvey has been putting out. I think that's a bunch of baloney. I don't know why Sandy Alderson should be able to have a problem with freedom of speech, basically. You let him tweet whatever he wants, and let him get Mets fans freaking excited for the 2014 Mets and beyond.
Yeah, I agree. I think I do live down here in Port St. Lucie, and it would be nice to be able to go to the ballpark and see Matt Harvey. Like, who wouldn't want to be that? But I think he should be around the team. He's the ace. He's going to be the ace next year, no matter what. And he needs to be around his team. There's a quote that says, he says, "I just really like to be around the team to be able to learn and be able to help them with the things that have been successful for me in the past." He said, "The more time I can spend with them and the team, maybe I can contribute in certain ways."
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's seen him as the fire for the Mets. You just get excited when you see Matt Harvey. Whether he's pitching or not, you get excited. And I just feel like he should be around his team.
Yes. I think it's unanimous among most Mets fans. They didn't make this a rule. They made this a recommendation.
Yeah,
Matt Harvey's got fire. He's got fire in him. He wants to be with the team. He wants to get fans excited. You gotta get
listen.
Matt Harvey.
The guy's a true New Yorker. I mean, I live in New York, and he is a New Yorker. He's turned into a New Yorker. So you gotta. Sometimes the way you mold like a team, the way you mold a good team is you have to have some personality there. Okay. Right now, take the Dodgers for example. You see, the guys have personality, and I just loved seeing Matt Harvey come out to the ballpark, come pitch games, and he had a fire now. As Jacob said, he had a fire. He was the Mets fire last year, and I want to keep him as close to the team as possible. Not only just for my entertainment's sake, but I think that he's going to bring a sort of element to the team that no other, even David Wright, I don't think David Wright could bring us the element Matt Harvey brings to the Mets. I don't know. I just don't agree with Sandy Alderson on this one. I think he's being way too businessy about this and trying to play it way too safe. It can't hurt him to rehab in a different location. I really don't think it would hurt him.
Yes. I definitely agree on that. Now on to the bullpen. Now the bullpen's very interesting. There's a lot of guys competing for spots. Now let's just talk about Vic Black for a second. Overall, this spring, he has been very shaky. And as of late, he's been pitching a little better. So as of now, do you think he has this eighth inning spot locked up, or do you think Collins is considering some other options as spring winds down? Jacob, what do you think?
Although I think Collins may be exploring other options, he may be at least thinking about them. I do think Black has the eighth inning spot, at least going into the season. But I think it's if he struggles early on, I don't think they'll think twice about putting someone else in there, especially if Valverde makes the team, which I hope he does. I liked him a lot when they first signed him. I think he would be a good choice in the eighth inning, and I know David agrees that Torres would be a nice eighth inning option. So I think if he struggles, he will definitely be pushed out of the spot, but I think it's his coming out of spring training.
Yeah, I don't look that deep into what happens over the spring. So, especially on top of that, Vic Black has been performing better as of late. I loved Vic Black last year. I loved the move when they traded Buck away to get Buck and Bird away to get Vic Black. Obviously, they got Dilson Herrera in that trade too. I loved the move, and I loved Vic Black at the end of the season. I loved watching him pitch. I think he was one of the better pitchers in the bullpen at the end of the season. Listen, guys go through slumps, okay? The guy was fantastic last year. You can't overlook that. It's just spring. I don't know. I think Gary Cohen said this. I was watching a game, and he said, don't look at spring because it's the time when a player can test out his stuff. It really is the time when Vic Black could try a new pitch or something like that, you know? I'm not going to look too far into the spring to say Vic Black. I think he's going to start out as the eighth inning guy, and I think it makes look like a better bullpen because I always like a young, strong bullpen, and so it means that you'd have Vic Black in that eighth inning role, Parnell in that ninth inning role, makes for a very, very scary eighth and ninth inning. It makes it look very scary for opposing teams.
Definitely. And what do you guys have for the seventh inning spot? Now there's nobody that's locked in, and it was pretty open. Last year it was last year Hawkins had the eighth inning and seventh inning switched around most of the year. I think it's important to have a set seventh, eighth, and ninth inning guy. So as of now, who do you guys see as the seventh inning reliever? David?
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna go into my whole bullpen configuration, if you don't mind.
Yes.
The way I see it, there are about 8 or 9 guys that deserve to make this bullpen. I'll go through that list right now. Bobby Parnell, who will. Vic Black, who will. Lennon, Valverde, Mejia, Familia, and Torres. I think that's 8. I think all 8 of those guys really deserve to make, and they all have reasons. Parnell, obviously, he's been the closer the last couple of years. I think that's without a doubt. Vic Black, we just discussed. He showed spark at the end of last season, and he's heating up more in the spring now. I don't think John Lennon's going to wind up in the rotation, and I
don't know what happened to David. I guess we'll just continue on from there. I'll give my take on this. I think the seventh inning role should be given to Yoris Familia, who's having an unbelievable spring. He hasn't given up a run yet. He's looked very good. He was a top prospect, and he's really come into his own this spring. He's only got 1 walk, and he's been very solid. He's starting to come into that guy that the Mets always hoped he could be. He's never been this good even in the spring. So I think he's going to get that look at the seventh inning spot. Carlos Torres is still your long reliever. John Lannon's going to be the second left-handed guy who the Mets haven't had in a while. The Mets haven't had a second reliever in a while, and then Valverde and Scott Rice, and Parnell's of course your closer. And I think that's going to be like the configuration you get in the bullpen. What about you, Jacob?
I definitely agree. Mejia in the 7th slot. That's where I'd like to see him. But I would like to see Torres and Lannon both kind of used as a long man or a spot starter, because if you're going against a lefty-heavy lineup, I don't want to see Torres being thrown out there as the long man just because that's been his role so far. I think both of them should be used. Both of them have experience as starters, and Lannon actually has never been a reliever. He's never been used as a reliever before in his career. So I think he should be the long man along with Torres, depending on the lineup they're going against. But definitely Mejia, Black, Parnell at the end of the game.
Yeah, definitely. For me on Mejia, I think Mejia is going to get that fourth or fifth starter role, depending on what happens with Nice and whatever. But I think he's going to make the rotation, and he also had a very good start today. That's why I don't see him in the bullpen. If he does not make the rotation, I definitely see him in the bullpen as well. He's got to make the team. He's got potential.
See, I want Mejia to make the rotation. I just don't think he will. I don't agree giving the spot to Daisuke. He was impressive over his last 3 starts last year. There's no denying that. He just looked great. But give it to the young guy. If he struggles, we can find another way to fix that. But I think it should definitely go to Mejia. I just I don't know because Nice was placed on the disabled list, and he's not going to start the season with the team. But the last 10 games of spring training are going to be counted towards his time on the 15-day disabled list. So he is expected to be that 5th starter. He is expected to make that 5th start. So for the first 4 games, they're going to carry an extra reliever, presumably going to carry an extra reliever. But Nice is expected to still make his start. So I think they're going to give the spot to Daisuke. I just really hope they don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it should be him, but they're making a decision this week, and I'm excited to see what happens. Now let's move on to position players. And for those of you who are just tuning in now, this is We Believe, episode 3. We're having some technical difficulties. Our admin, Davey Schwaz, is not with us right now. Something happened, and I'm filling in for Sean, who's usually our host. But right now it's me, Jordan, and Jacob Molinette. This is episode 3. And now we're going to go on to some position players. And for the bench, these are 2 guys that have really jumped out during spring and having very good, doing very well. Matt Den Decker is batting .350 with 6 RBIs. Andrew Brown is batting .262 with 2 home runs and 10 RBIs. If either of these guys are going to make the bench, which it could be neither of them, it could be both of them, most likely not both of them, there's a good chance one of them is going to get the spot. For you, Jacob, who gets the spot on the bench between Matt den Dekker and Andrew Brown?
I think you could make a case for both of them. Den Dekker has just been the spring trainings has been great defensively, and everyone said if Den Dekker hits, he plays. So you can make a case definitely for him if he's batting .350. But you also have to look at don't take much in spring training. But I give the spot to Andrew Brown just because of his power potential. I've loved his bat, and so if you need a guy coming off the bench to hit a home run, you just need a home run. You're hoping he gets it. You definitely want to throw Andrew Brown out there, so I think he gets the spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they have enough of the great defensive outfielders, like, you know, with Lagares and Chris Young and Granderson and stuff. I don't see Matt den Dekker as the late defensive replacement who comes in. If he's gonna make the team, his role is gonna be defense, and that's not something they really need. They need a bat. They need someone who's gonna hit home runs. They don't have that on the bench, and yeah. I think Andrew Brown really showed that last year. So I think he gets it.
Jordan, I don't agree with that, because if you're gonna look at spring alone, which I wouldn't even do, but if you want to, if you're gonna say that, which one are you gonna take because one's having a better spring than the other, or they're both having fantastic springs? If you look at the statistics, Matt den Dekker is having a better spring than Andrew Brown is. Matt den Dekker is actually batting .350 this spring, with more at bats.
But who's performed at a major league level though?
But well, let me give you this though. I'd rather see Matt den Dekker, whom I've been watching for the last 3 springs. I'd rather see a young guy like Matt den Dekker finally come through the system than a guy like Andrew Brown, who we saw float in between major leagues and AAA last year. Let me ask you this: Is there a guy last year that you remember that kind of was similar to Andrew Brown this year by the name of Colin Cowgill? What happened to Colin Cowgill? I just think that Andrew Brown is another Colin Cowgill situation, whereas Matt den Dekker can actually not only come up and help this team out, but can also come up and sort of say, okay, our farm is, after a couple of years of us saying we're rebuilding, our farm is graduating to the major leagues and now can help us perform at a major league level. So saying that, I would rather see Matt den Dekker finally come up and help out this team than see Andrew Brown, who might not actually be able to help the team.
If den Dekker was maybe 23 or 24, even 25, I can see that as he's graduating and he can help out this team a lot. But he's going to be turning 27 this year, and if he doesn't make the team this year, his future doesn't look that bright.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So I would rather go with Andrew Brown only because he has proven himself, but it's not as if den Dekker he's young. He's still young, but he's only 2 years younger than Eric Young and 3 years younger than Chris Young.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to at least give den Dekker a shot if you're saying that you're gonna get rid of him after this year if he's not gonna make if he can't perform this year, you're not at least gonna give him one shot in the major leagues?
I agree, he deserves the spot, but if we're going for, he's a question mark.
Okay. I just think Andrew Brown is as much of a question mark, and I would take den Dekker over Andrew Brown because den Dekker has been a prospect that we've been watching for the last, I don't even know how many years, and I finally want to see him come up and perform at a major league level.
Yes, definitely. We'll see what happens with that. Now, let's move on to probably the biggest question of spring, which is obviously shortstop. Now, we touched on it briefly with Tejada and Flores, but a lot has happened over the past week. And let's just give a little recap. Pretty much what happened is Flores is getting started at shortstop, and he's playing well. He's doing well defensively, and he's now starting to hit. He had a 3-for-5 day the other day. And Tejada now is also starting to hit a little bit, and he's not making the errors he was making earlier in spring. So what do you guys think is the latest on the shortstop situation? Who has the upper hand right now going into the season?
Well, this is very interesting. We've been following. We believe we've been following this topic very, very closely over the last 3 weeks. Week 1, Jordan took the side of Ruben Tejada, and Sean, who's not present with us right now, took the side with Wilmer Flores. Let me note that was before anyone ever thought Wilmer Flores would be playing shortstop. So credit goes where credit's due to Sean Broderick. I said that they should go with the exterior option, and now that's definitely not going to happen. Okay, there's no way they're going to go with an exterior option. It's too late. They're at least going to start the season out with either Ruben Tejada or Wilmer Flores. And I said it earlier in the show, I am going to go with Wilmer Flores because I'm a big believer in giving a team spark and changing things up when things aren't working. I can't we're already most likely going to be giving Davis another shot. So I want to see Wilmer Flores get a shot at shortstop, especially because you can compare the situation pretty much exactly to what happened with Daniel Murphy years back when they didn't really have a spot for him and they had an opening right after Luis Castillo era was over. They had an opening at second base. And for the last I remember reading something earlier this year. It said Daniel Murphy, for the first time, doesn't have competition at second base. He's finally locked down that position. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to see maybe Wilmer Flores can turn into a Daniel Murphy type story where Wilmer Flores had a bat. Daniel Murphy had a bat, couldn't field. They decided they were going to give him some playing time at second base. They did in the minors a little bit and through spring training. And he made a couple errors in the beginning, but now you see he's making the routine plays, and that's exactly what you need. He's not necessarily a Gold Glover, even though we still see him making fantastic plays. But he's evolved into a guy that can make the average plays at second base, and I think that Wilmer Flores can turn into that in the future. Now, also, you can look at it as if I would try Wilmer Flores this year, especially because next year, if things don't work out, next year you can get a shortstop if you're willing to spend money, because there's a lot of shortstops on the market next year. So I just don't feel comfortable starting Ruben Tejada because for me personally as a fan, I want to see a new face at shortstop at least, and I would love to see Wilmer Flores' bat in the lineup.
Mm-hmm. I just think there's too much Tejada can contribute, and it sounds like a joke, and I know he's having a terrible spring, and I know that he was awful last year, but the truth is that Ruben Tejada is not a bad player. I mean, we saw him for 2 straight years contribute to the team. He was the guy that came after Jose Reyes, and although it's not true, people said he's filling the shoes fine, and he was a guy people liked, and he got on base, and he drew walks, and he hit in the clutch a lot, even though it wasn't home runs. He always seemed to come through with a big hit, and he was a big player. He was a big part of the team. And last season, everything went wrong, and there were so many critics, and it was mental. The errors were coming in the cold, and everything just went downhill. He got injured, got sent to the minors, never really got a chance to prove himself at the end of the season. I think you have to give him one more shot. I'm not giving him more than 2 weeks in the major leagues if he does not perform. But you got to start the season with Ruben Tejada, I think, and you have to see how he does. And if he returns to what he was, I think the Mets are going to be really happy to have Ruben Tejada for not just this season. But
it's very interesting. It's very interesting that Ruben Tejada has finally been performing decently over the last week or so. So you finally get something to kind of latch onto. Last week you said last week you basically gave up on Ruben Tejada. This week you finally have a little something to latch onto.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth, but
you're back on the Ruben Tejada train.
Yeah, I think so. I think if Wilmer Flores, I would be for Wilmer Flores if he was batting .350, having a ridiculous spring, but that's not the case.
Oh, come on, he's having a very, very solid spring.
He struggled for a while until
and now he's picking it up. But if you want to tell me if you want to say Ruben Tejada is picking up, then you have to say that Wilmer Flores has been picking up even more than Ruben Tejada has.
I agree, but Wilmer Flores does not have 2 years in the major leagues where he produced constantly. Well, Ruben Tejada does, so that's just where I'm going at in the future.
Wilmer Flores is a top prospect for the Mets. You got to give the prospects a chance.
He's going to get a chance. I'm sure he's going to get a chance.
Where do you see Flores getting a chance?
I don't see him getting a chance unless it's at shortstop.
Exactly, Jordan. Where do you see Wilmer Flores getting a chance in the future?
There's always injuries. Things happen on a club throughout 160
Wilmer
games.
Flores needs to be starting. He cannot be on the bench for the Mets. They need to find somewhere where Wilmer Flores can start.
Okay, if you look at his overall numbers this spring, he just hasn't had a good spring. He's at 194. He has only 7 hits. But the past 2 weeks, it seems like every single game you look at that he played in, he's produced.
Exactly. And the last week in particular.
Yeah, and
he's been playing a flawless shortstop. He's been getting hits. He was obviously 3 for 4 the other day. I don't know, Jordan. Where do you think? I don't want to know. Where do you think in the future you would see Wilmer Flores? What position do you think? You're saying you want to see him off the bench?
I think to start the year, if they're obviously concerned about his defense, and I'm not going to say he's fine defensively after seeing him play 3 games at shortstop. If they were really fine with him playing shortstop, he would have been there last year playing there. And I know he went to camp, but I think you want to see him start the year in AAA and get more games at shortstop, and they'll be able to see over the course of weeks, even a few weeks, not even that long. They'll be able to see if he can play. Right now, you can't base it on just a couple of games. It's such a small sample size, and
yeah, it's interesting. Also, I mean, if you want to look at the bigger picture, that going into spring, we saw 3 races, 3 main races for shortstop, first base, and the 5th starter spot. We are 8 days away, and we still have no idea what is going to be for all 3. And I love it. I mean, I love it. I love that. I mean, for 2 of those 3 are positive. For shortstop, right now it's positive because right now we see Ruben Tejada and Wilmer Flores are finally picking it up. And obviously for the 5th starter, it's been, I mean, Mejia has been pitching at a crazy level. I mean, he has been pitching if you watched him today, whoever watched him today, he was lights out today.
Yeah, I watched him today.
He was just so great today. I still think Daisuke is going to get that 5th starter spot. But if you let's take a look at each race in particular. We just discussed the short, so let's take a look at the first base race. I mean, every race has been picking up lately. We saw yesterday Davis hit a home run, and 2 days ago Lucas Duda hit a home run. But what do you guys think about the first base race? What are your opinions on that?
I think if they're both going to produce at the same rate, which is what's happened so far, they've been following each other's path step by step. They both got injured and came back at the same time, and now they're both playing pretty much equally. I think the job is definitely going to Davis, and I think that's been clear ever since they decided they're not trading him. He's got the upper hand. He's got the 32 home run season in the major leagues, and I do like Duda, but I think they're going to give Davis one more shot. But that does not mean they're going to give him 3 months. I don't think they're going to give him more than like a month in the major leagues if he's not going to produce. Same thing for Tejada. I think. Go ahead.
I think it was clear that if they were trading one, they were trying to trade Davis, and you can say that it's because they thought he had the higher potential, so he could get the better return. But I think it was just that the management was done with Davis. They didn't want him on the team. And it could be because of money, because Davis is going to make over $5 million, while Duda is going to make less than $1 million. And Davis obviously has a lot more potential with the 32 home run season. I
don't fully agree with that. I don't fully agree that Davis necessarily has more potential than Duda does.
I just don't see Duda ever being a top of the line guy. He's gonna
I don't think. I mean, listen. 2 years ago, last year we know he has problems last year. 2 years ago, I think it was the really solid sample size we got of him because he really had a starting role basically every day. I don't know. It's still so up in the air for me, and I think the main reason for that is because we just simply haven't seen them play at all, and I think that we discussed that last week. Does Josh Sadden have a legitimate chance of starting first base? Right now, I really think Josh Sadden deserves and should be the starting first baseman for the Mets.
I also think he deserves it.
Not anymore. I think he's going to deserve it if nobody's there. Nobody's there, but they want to get power out of first base, and with Davis and Duda now starting to hit a little bit, it's going to be between one of those two. Now, here's my take on Lucas Duda. I really think the Mets screwed up with Lucas Duda. When he was a prospect and when he was just coming up to the major leagues, I was really excited about him. And his biggest problem was that he was swinging at everything. And I know it's a problem, and the Mets fixed it way too much. And if you watch Lucas Duda now, you see Lucas Duda taking pitches right down the middle, and that's what's going to stop him from being a solid first baseman. You got to be swinging at those pitches. And they said that they worked on him in pitch recognition last year. You still didn't really see that many improvements. So I think if he works on that, and if he becomes the player he really is, which is what he used to be, and more aggressive and swing at those pitches, I don't care if that means his batting average is a little lower and he strikes out a little more. You want to get home runs out of your first baseman. And once we see that from Duda, that's when I want to see him take over the job. I don't really want to see a guy sitting there taking pitches and being our starting first baseman.
8 days from today, who's the starting first baseman?
It's Ike Davis.
It's Ike Davis, definitely.
I'll disagree with you guys. I'm going to say it's Duda because, listen, Duda, as I said before, I like to see the younger guy kind of come through and give a little spark. It sort of makes it kind of like a fresher start to me. The way I see it, I see something sort of fresher. I like Duda. I still admire his power. Every time I see, I always see these tweets how, watching Duda taking BP is like pretty crazy. And Jordan said if he can learn pitch recognition, then he can. I mean, I think he could probably turn into. I don't know if this is kind of an over-exaggeration, but I guess he could sort of turn into an elite power hitter in the league because they always say how in BP he can hit these home runs, but without the pitch recognition, he can't do it.
Yeah, he's definitely got a ton of power.
And he has a ton of potential to show off that power. I mean, I guess realistically, I guess you guys are right. I guess it would be Ike Davis in that first base role. I just think that I would kind of rather see Duda in that first base spot.
I just see with Lucas Duda, he hits really impressive home runs.
Yeah. If he hits a home run, it is schmeared.
It is, but they gave him he was a full-time starter last year, and you got 15 home runs out of him, and he's going to have a higher on-base percentage than Davis, but at the same time, he's not going to play as well defensively. So it doesn't matter if you hit the ball 500 feet or you hit it just over the wall. A home run's a home run. And I think Ike Davis is going to hit more than he will at any point. If they're both full-time starters, Davis is going to hit more.
Well, I'm sure next week we're really going to get into more of these races because it's going to be one day, the next day. That's Jordan, you think we'll do maybe like an hour-and-a-half show next week?
Next week, I think we're going to do some kind of special edition as the eve of opening day. But by next week, we're definitely going to know.
Of course, yeah. I mean, Terry Collins will have unveiled the starting lineup by next
definitely.
week.
So next week we'll do something a different kind of show maybe.
Do you realize how much is going to have changed in this? Think about it right now. How much is going to change over the next week?
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting week. I'm really excited. You know, people got school tomorrow, people got work tomorrow, but this is going to be...
A week from Monday, I hope my principal is listening up right now because I am full-fledged ditching school a week from Monday. I will be, me and my buddy will be there opening day. You can hear us. I believe we're going to be in section 535 if you want to... I'm underage, but you can come buy me a beer or something. I don't really care.
All right, Davey. All right, so first I just want to give a shout out to our fans who are chatting on with us. We've got there's a lot of them. Joe Batts, Larry Corbin, J Fox Forsher, Blake Hargrove, all these people commenting on. We got a good discussion. Everyone come ask us questions if you want, and we're having a lot of fun here. Now let's just move on to the last topic before we close. Travis d'Arnaud, which we started off talking about. Here's the question. Does Travis d'Arnaud this season bat over under 275? David, go.
That's a clear over for me. I am a Met believer. As you can see, I am an admin of the page, and I am in reality a Met believer. Saying that, I am a huge believer in Travis d'Arnaud. I still think he is a key part to this Mets team, and I still think that he really is the centerpiece of that R.A. Dickey trade. And I really need to see. This is really going to be the year where he's going to finally get that starting spot that he's been promised over the last couple of years. Obviously, when he came through, we actually saw 2 years ago rumors that he was going to be coming up to the major leagues. Obviously last year he came up, but this just proves that he needs to be starting now. He needs to be starting. He needs to be producing when he starts. I think he's going to bat over 275. I really do. I think he's going to come around as a major league hitter, and I think he's going to become one of the more elite catchers in the league. And the interesting thing is going to be, can he handle the fifth spot in the Mets lineup? Because if he can handle the fifth spot in the Mets lineup, it kind of takes away a lot of a lot of pressure for the front office to acquire somebody who's going to be able to drive in Curtis Granderson, who again will not be hitting home runs in that fourth spot. So is Travis d'Arnaud going to be hitting over 275? Yeah, he's going to probably be hitting like 280, 285. I don't think that much over 275, but he's not going to be. He's definitely no way is he going to be hitting over 300. But I think as time goes on, we're going to see slowly he's going to become more like an elite catcher, like like Yadier Molina, who he obviously is fantastic defensively behind the plate and really can hit and really can affect the team more than an average catcher can in Major League Baseball.
Yes, David. What do you Jacob? What do you think?
We were talking about this earlier, and I think it completely depends on where they put him in the lineup. If they have him slotted down there near the bottom at 7th or 8th, I can definitely see him batting under 275 because if Lagares makes the team and he doesn't produce offensively, they're going to have him near the bottom of the lineup, and there's just no reason to pitch to d'Arnaud. They're going to pitch around him. They're not going to give him much to hit. So I think the lower he goes in the lineup, the lower his batting average is going to be. But if they have him in that 5th slot, I can definitely see him batting over 275, and I think he will bat over 275.
Yeah, I know prospects don't always pan out, but he's been traded for 2 Cy Young pitchers. The scouts rave about him. They say the only knock on him is the health, and if he stays healthy, I think he's going to be a high average guy. I think 275 is going to be around there. I think it could be higher, and he can make contact. I really like him. He hasn't performed yet, but I think when he calms down, he stops thinking about hitting that 600-foot home run, and he relaxes and becomes the player he was in the minor leagues. This is why I'm really high on Travis d'Arnaud, because when you look at his approach last year and you look at his approach in the minors, they were completely different, and that shows you that it was all rookie pressure. It was all rookie, not pressure. It was he was scared. I mean, he was pulling everything, and when he was in the minors, he hit so much to the opposite field. When he was in the minors, he hit everything. He spread all fields, and when he was in the majors, he was just swinging away and hitting and pulling everything and striking out a lot more than he did in the minors. So I think when he relaxes, he's going to become very good, and I think he's going to bat above 275.
Can I give you my full prediction on Travis d'Arnaud? I think, remember 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago? I don't remember if it was 2-3 years ago, Ike Davis had that season where he started out, the 32 home run season where he started out terribly and then he went on to hit 32 home runs. I think he's going to have a somewhat similar season because what's going to happen is Travis d'Arnaud is under a lot of pressure to perform now, and I don't think he's going to. For the first couple months, that is. And then when the pressure sort of shifts elsewhere to the team, that's when he's finally going to realize, okay, I'm not going to have to hit for the fences anymore. I'm just going to try to make contact now. And I think once he realizes he just has to make contact and he has to kind of have fun with the game, because I think right now his mentality is that he really has to help his team out. As we saw, he commented that he's in this to win the World Series. Don't be in it to win the World Series just yet. Focus on just having fun, playing the game that we know you can play, make contact, and do what you can do without trying to do more than you can do.
Well, you gotta love those comments from the rookie.
I mean, of course you do, but let David Wright make those comments, and let Travis d'Arnaud make the comment that he's just going to try to get hits and help the team out, as opposed to winning a World Series this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Also, with the pressure, that's why I like Granderson. I think with Granderson and Wright, that's definitely going to take a lot of pressure off of d'Arnaud. If you look at going into the season, had we not signed Granderson, the pressure on d'Arnaud would be even higher, insurmountably higher.
I like that point. I like that point especially because Curtis Granderson obviously is a phenomenal ball player, but he kind of brings like an old soul to the team. That's like really going to help David Wright take pressure off David Wright. He's going to help take pressure off obviously Travis d'Arnaud. He's going to really mold this team together and sort of bring the professional atmosphere that comes with the Yankees, and he's going to kind of bring that to the sort of more loose, lenient atmosphere that is with the Mets, and I think he really is going to help a guy like Travis d'Arnaud.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. That's all for tonight. Next week right now we'll be doing our 4th podcast. It will be the eve of opening day. Everyone get excited. We are Mets believers. Thank you for tuning in this week. Next week we'll have Sean and Jacob. It was great having you. Who will definitely hope to have you back again. And let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets, man.